All right. High Strangeness, Chapel Perilous, Part 1. Try to fit in what I can here. I'm going to go back to, I guess it would be between 1989 and 90. I just turned 20 or 21, around there, and was living in Kokomo, Indiana, in little suburbs near the country called Indian Heights. And on this particular night, I'd gone with a friend to this place called Video Connection, and we had rented a couple of films, took them back to his place to watch them, and somewhere in the middle of the second film, he had crashed out and was snoring on the couch, and I decided at that point that I would hoof it on back home on foot. It had been snowing all night. This was, I want to say this was probably after New Year's, probably January, and sometime in January. And it had been snowing all night, coming down and sticking. And as I left, it was probably about between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was still coming down. And it was a beautiful night. My friend's house was set down this little dead-end street that was just outside the Indian Heights suburbs. And I strode down that little street and made my way into Indian Heights. And Indian Heights was a suburbs that was sort of built like a coil of streets. And anyway, I made my way home through it. And as I say, it had been snowing all night, and the moon was out big and bright. The clouds were big, puffy, cumulus clouds, and they were flying low. And between the moon, the clouds, and the snow, it was lit up, it seemed, almost like it was very Christmassy, very quiet. And as I tread through the burbs on my way home, I could tell that it was dead asleep out there. There was there had been as yet no traffic. The streets were pristine with snow. There had been no tracks in it. The only one out, it seemed like, was me. My little footfalls and the crunch of my shoes in the snow. And I was in no hurry. It was cold, but it was nice. And I took my time. Eventually, when I turned the corner down my own street, Wigwam Court, I could see that some of the neighbors had taken their trash cans around to the curb, that it was Tuesday, trash day. So I strolled up to the house, and I went out and around the backyard, and I grabbed a couple of trash cans, and I dragged them through the snow down to the curb near the mailbox. And I was in no hurry to go inside yet. I just sort of lingered there by the mailbox and looked up at the sky. As I say, the clouds were big, puffy, cumulus clouds, flying low, lit up. The night was beautiful. I was just in no hurry to go inside and do what, Just go to bed? No. Still was some kind of buzz about it. You know, I just didn't want to go inside just yet, so I just lingered there for a minute. Just took the night in, as one does. And to give you an example of what I was seeing, as I say, the clouds were low, big cottony cumulus clouds, and they were spread out and scattered to where you could see plenty of the sky above through the patches that were not clouds, at least above me. But further to my left, to the south, and further to my right, the north, the clouds were denser. To my north, very dense. Less so to the south, but the clouds were denser to the south, it seemed, or at least to my angle of them. And I was facing west. After about a minute lingering there by the mailbox, something caught my attention from my periphery. This warm orange glow flashed just to the far periphery of my vision, to my left. Very out of place and all that. Those whites and blacks and blues and grays, very, very cold colors everywhere. And this warm glow to my left just seemed way out of place. And I turned to look. It's almost the first thought in my head. I was expecting that the only thing it could have been, possibly, was I was catching just the glimpse of an airplane whose engine may have caught fire or something. And I looked to my left to see what it was, and the glow had disappeared. But something else caught my attention that at first seemed so impossible that it didn't even register. It wasn't even hard to really say. Like, it just seemed so weird. I didn't even have time to be astonished. I turned to face it and look. And what seemed to me, like I say, I could see the blue, dark blue sky lit up by the moon through these clouds. But what I saw to my left, to the far south, I estimate maybe about a quarter of a mile away at that point, was some whopper-sized object that was moving just above the cloud line. Blotted out the sky, and it was big. It was so big, I didn't know what I was even looking at. I turned my body full south to face it, to really see what was going on. And maybe a few seconds passed before it really dawned on me, even though I couldn't name it. What I was seeing was a very large object flying, coasting slowly just above the low-flying clouds that was, again, like about a quarter of a mile away, but so big, such a whopper. Like I would later to myself describe it as being like the size of a shopping mall with the parking lot included. This thing was massive. And again, at that distance, what I could see just through the patches of between the clouds, I couldn't tell what the shape of this thing was. I could just make out the breadth of its scale. and I could watch as its presence, what I could discern of it, was moving slowly my way as it continually blotted out more of the sky. And as I say, above me where I was, the clouds were much less dense. There were big patches of sky there, and I knew this thing was heading my way. Wasn't sure what it was, but I could guess that this was some fucking close encounters. So, on impulse, feeling like as if the night was gonna get rather wild, I strode out into the middle of the street so as to be better underneath this thing as it passed over. And I was thinking, well, as slow as this thing was going, I wanted to get right out in the middle of the street, make my presence known, that if it wanted to stop and abduct me, it was certainly welcome to. I was ready to go. So I stood out there in the middle of the street and watched as this thing coasted over like a giant, silent whale. Now, by the time I had first caught a glimpse of it, and by the time it had passed over me, or got over me, I'd say roughly half of a minute may have gone by. Anyway, as it got over me, and again, there just wasn't enough patches in the clouds for me to make out the overall shape of this thing. But as it coasted over and I could see the underbelly of this thing, what I could tell from it was that its bottommost surface was convex, like a bowl. It was so big that the curve of that bowl wasn't so easy to really make out, but it was nonetheless obvious. And while it seemed like it was made of some kind of metal, it was certainly not shiny metal. It was not reflective. And again, there was no longer any of that warm glow. It was kind of a wash in all the grays and blues and cool grays. And the surface was featureless. There were no grooves, there were no shapes, there were no, it was as featureless as a salad bowl. And again, it's absolutely silent and whopper. Like if this had been a large passenger plane of equal distance away from me, this thing would have dwarfed it. Anyway, I'm standing there underneath it as it's coasting over, and eventually it finally passes over me and starts heading north into the denser cloud cover, and I watch as it eventually just gets swallowed up by the clouds and is gone. And I'm like, okay. I linger around outside for maybe another 5 minutes, around about that, thinking, well, it may turn back around, I don't know, something may happen. I was hoping that the night would continually get weird, but it really didn't. And I eventually went inside and just kind of laughed it off, and it wasn't the sort of thing I was in any hurry to tell anybody about, because most everyone I knew thought I was pulling their leg when I even just described to them my dreams. So I was just going to keep this to myself. And as astonishing it really as it was, I kind of just let it be. I made a mental note to myself that I was going to fairly regularly, if not once a year, but maybe a couple of times a year at least, I was just going to recite to myself exactly what happened, just so if at a later date I wouldn't be mistaken to embellish any details about it that didn't exist, and again, this was 90 or 89, 90. Very little was really, there was no internet, no, apart from what one could find at the library if they were looking for it, really there was no narrative really to follow about this sort of stuff, But over the years, things would come out, people would mention their own experiences and so on. And I can say that for my own part, when this happened, I was not aware of any of the tropes as like people often make claims of with respect to these kind of encounters, where they say that there was a time distortion or a loss of time, or they felt the presence of any kind of humming, buzzing, thrumming, or anything like that. It was there was really nothing to it. It was absolutely silent, absolutely huge. If anything, I thought it was kind of funny, that here I was, high school dropout, a complete nebbish, really, and yet, for whatever fool reason, I happened to see something that night that made all the poo-pooing done on this subject look like a lot of people talking out of their ass. Anyway, recently, I went and looked at a map, and as I suspected, if this thing had stayed on course, the trajectory it was on when I had first glimpsed at it, and the trajectory it remained on when I lost sight of it, it was heading just west of due north. And as the street that I was on was directly going north-south. And this was Kokomo, Indiana, Indian Heights. And from where I was standing that wee morning hours, I would have been about a half an hour's drive distance from Grissom Air Force Base. And it was, just slightly due west of true north from where I was. And this whopper-sized craft, if it had remained on course, remained flying that low, certainly, and remained that visible, it was not going to come as any surprise to the able bodies there at Grissom Air Force Base. As far as Air Force bases go, Grissom was, serious customer, so found that interesting. At the same time, the size of this thing, I have no reason whatsoever, as I personally no reason to think that our government, military, has, made anything that damn big, that damn silent. They may have, but I know that than I know that it was an alien craft or any such thing. Experiences I've had since make me suspect that, well, maybe in a world as strange and dreamy as this is, what I saw that early morning was just a way for this strange, dreamy reality to express just how strange and dreamy it is, you know. I really don't know. But that's the first of many episodes of High Strangeness, though. Others that follow after that express how strange and dreamy things get divert from the Close Encounters tropes and get into some other weird territories. And so when I return, we'll get into that. But that's it for now. That is it for now.